Welcome to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Glen Wilson
and Emilio.
And today we're going to talk some very big news that just came out today. So apparently, the Lakers are in a lot of pressure right now, especially Magic Johnson,
Under pressure.
because they really feel like in order to get LeBron, they have to get Kawhi Leonard, which is interesting. Now, when Magic was kind of asked about all this, he said, "I'm Magic Johnson. You know how many finals I've been in? So you think I'm worried about this? I played against Larry Bird in the finals. I played in 9 finals." And his whole thing is like, why do I have to worry about this? I'm going to do my job, and I've always done my job. And I get that. I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, it's like, just because
you're not on the court no
Yeah,
more.
I was just gonna say,
like, you can't
not
shoot for Lonzo.
And
Like, bro, Lonzo, you gonna be great. You know why? Because I was great.
yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like,
it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I see where he's coming from, though.
Right.
Because it always seems like Magic Johnson, he just brings greatness with him wherever he goes. He has that type of like aura to him, you know? So I get what he's saying, but I mean, he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's literally said, like, if he doesn't get the job done or get the players that he needs to assemble the team in 2 years, he's going to step down personally. He's not going to have to get fired. He's not any of that. That's not going to happen at all. He's not going to put any pressure on Jeannie. He's just going to do it himself. So I feel like maybe he thinks that he can get the pieces together, and he's pretty confident about it. So maybe he knows some stuff that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that I feel about this, though, is, yes, I know in most situations having Kawhi Leonard on your team is outstanding because Kawhi Leonard is an outstanding talent. And, I mean, he's, in my opinion, probably a top 6 player in the league.
Yeah,
definitely. I think so.
One of the best two-way players of the league.
I mean, Michael Jordan literally called him the best two-way player of all time.
Yeah,
So,
I think he's definitely number 1 in the league right now. I mean, he was out, but I think when he's on the court, he's the best two-way player.
Well, when he's healthy, you can't deny what Kawhi Leonard could do.
When he's healthy and playing as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know how healthy he was this season. I mean, a lot of his teammates.
That whole situation was sketchy.
Yeah, it was like everyone was just like, so what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of his teammates were just, they were making it seem like he should have played the whole season. And I understand that, but I also understand like when you feel like you're not healthy. So I get where he's coming from. But at the same time, it's like a lot of people are saying that they need to create like a better environment, create a culture in LA with all these young players, because I mean that is something that you need to do, especially with a young core. Because sometimes, I mean, might just seem like it's a lot. It's like it's time for games and all of that, especially with Lonzo and Kuzma going back and forth with each other all the time. And I know they're just joking. Like they seem like they really love playing with each other and they really love being teammates. But at the same time, it's like, how serious are they when they're on the court? I don't really get to see that because I'm not like on the coaching staff or anything. But I could see where that could worry some people, especially big name free agents coming into the Lakers, because like LeBron, I'm going to be honest with you. He doesn't like rookies. He has always been, in recent history, even in Miami, he has always been on older teams. His preference are veterans. And so I feel like that's definitely something that they're trying to do in LA to maybe try to entice LeBron some more. But the thing is also, I feel like those young guys are assets for LeBron. And you might lose those assets if you trade for Kawhi.
Just to go out and get LeBron. Yeah, I think it's really important for them to keep that core together. Obviously, they're going to improve if they get Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. You're going to win games with those two in your lineup. But if you're getting rid of one of those two guys, like those guys,
you're just losing
Kuzma
a lot.
and Lonzo Ball have easily another decade plus in the league. That is, I think they can consistently win games down the line for a long time. And that's why I don't really understand Magic Johnson's like 2 years or I'm out kind of thing. He's got a really good young core that he put together. He knows what he's doing clearly. I don't see why you rush it at this point.
I just feel like I see what you're saying too, but I feel like maybe the 2 years thing is because like it's either he gets LeBron and Paul George this season, like, or next season he gets Kawhi. Like those are the things that he feels like he needs to get done, and those are the things that can only get done either this year or next year. So that's why I feel like he's putting his money where his mouth is, because he's like, well, this is my chance to get those guys. These are the only 2 years I'm going to have realistically, without like some kind of crazy trade. But I mean, how many times does LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard get traded? I mean, he's trying to get traded now, but when's the last time LeBron got traded?
Right. And like you said earlier about like creating a culture at that team, a winning championship culture, I think that has been that's been a problem with the narrative of these younger players. Is a lot of people just straight up think they don't want to win, that they're a lot more about the lifestyle that the game brings, and like the clout online and all that stuff. And I mean that's not the case with everyone, obviously, but I think that's also has to do with why LeBron doesn't like playing with young guys in like first years, because that's like their inexperience especially shows in the playoffs every year, unless you're a Donovan Mitchell or a Ben Simmons caliber, which even they had rocky nights.
Yeah, it's hard to step in as a young player in the NBA because playoff basketball is a completely different game
animal
than the regular season.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, well, it's because like everyone's playing their best basketball all of the time.
Yeah.
And when you're in the NBA, even as a rookie for the whole regular season, like you're probably only getting glimpses of that.
Yeah, the pressure's not that high.
Mm-mm.
Like in today's NBA, you can get in the playoffs winning 40 games. You can be under 500 and get in. The pressure is just, I don't think the pressure is ever as high.
Right.
Until you get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so I could see where LeBron would be a little concerned with that. But I do feel like a lot of those rookies at least should entice him a little, because he does have a lot of scorers on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like LeBron would be able to facilitate to those guys, or even use them for trades. But I feel like if you use them in trades, you can't use them for just one guy, because LeBron's going to need more tools than just one guy. And a lot of those rookies are getting paid like very little. So even then, it would be very difficult to get a trade that would work out, even just money-wise, because a lot of those rookies are getting paid. They're still on the rookie contracts. And so what good player that is a veteran are you going to be able to trade for them? It's going to be probably none. So it's either he likes the team or he doesn't. And I feel like he'll definitely like the team less if all he has, I mean, it sounds weird to say this, but all he has is Kawhi Leonard. But I mean, like, LeBron's going to want more than just him and Kawhi on a team.
Right.
He always wants more pieces than that. I mean, that's why his teams get shaken up so much, because he wants extra pieces for just in case, like, I need them scenarios. So I don't really see, if I'm the Lakers, I'm not making the trade. I'd rather just see how it goes next season, because you know what, these young guys, they're probably going to get even better next season anyways.
Absolutely.
And it might be better to just wait it out. Why lose something and then you might just lose everything? Like, there are no guarantees with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, you can just tell, because I know he wants to play in LA, but they said the same thing about Paul George. Paul George wanted to play in LA, but it's looking like he might stay in OKC. And so we don't know what's going on. But another thing about Paul George is that the Cavs are apparently really interested in Paul George to try to keep LeBron James on the Cavs.
Yeah, I haven't seen those reports as well.
And I don't really think that, I mean, I'm going to ask you, like, what do you think about Paul George potentially living in Cleveland?
I just don't see that happening at all. Like, he was in Indiana, which, like, I don't know if you guys have been in Indiana, but yeah,
and
he got a taste of it now. And at least what the narrative was the last years, he wanted to stay on that, like, he wanted to stay in the West Coast. And one, I don't see him moving to Cleveland.
No.
I don't see him wanting to live there. But two, at least personally, I guess we'll see on the 29th, but I don't see LeBron staying. I don't think that's an option for him. I think that is the quickest way to his career falling apart. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's a really fast way, but I'm saying it's the quickest out of all the options.
I completely agree. And as controversial as this might sound, it's for specific players on the Cavs, it is almost better if LeBron leaves, because Kevin Love has not been the same playing with LeBron James. I mean, that a lot of that has been to do with injuries. He's changed his playing style quite a bit.
Right.
Well, almost all of LeBron James's teammates have played substantially worse than without him. And I mean, I guess it makes sense because I mean, LeBron is going to be there, so he's going to take like a more. He's going to score a little bit more, so he's going to take away from their scoring. He's going to
have the ball.
Right.
But the difference is it's usually a lot worse. Like, it's usually visually worse because they can't get into their own rhythm. So I get what you're saying with that, too. I just still feel like it's weird, though, that the Cavs actually think that they could get Paul George. I feel like, in my eyes, the only place Paul George is going is either L.A. or OKC. Like, I don't think there's anywhere else in his eyes that he's even considering.
Yeah, Paul George, if they somehow came up with an agreement that LeBron stays in Cleveland and Paul George is going there because they want to play together that bad, I mean, maybe that's one thing, but that's not going to happen.
Well, why wouldn't they just do that in L.A.?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they
exactly.
Where it's set up perfectly for it to work.
Yeah.
Where they cleared the cap space. Like, the Cavs have to clear cap space to get Paul George. The Lakers literally have to do almost like they have to make I think one trade potentially in order to get Paul George and LeBron, but there are already teams that said they would take on Luol Deng's contract, like the Suns, if they get Lonzo. And I mean, if you're the Lakers, I mean, would you get rid of Lonzo and Paul to get Paul George and LeBron? I think so.
I think the Lakers might do it. Personally, I would not, because it's just me. I believe in a young core and like growing as a team, and I think they have the potential to be serious with the players they have right now. Obviously, you can go out and get Kawhi next season, and by that point, assuming Kawhi is playing and he's playing how we expect him to, Kuzma and Lonzo, they're going to be better next year.
So is Ingram.
Ingram as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they can seriously contend for championships without going and getting LeBron and Paul George.
Yeah, but that's going to be in the long run. Right, that's going to be in the long run, which that's what doesn't make sense to me, because literally out of anyone in the league who's set up the best to be really good in the long run is the Lakers. I feel like when it comes down to it, I mean, maybe you can argue now for the Suns or even Dallas, or the Sixers, right, yeah, absolutely. But in the West, like, I think they are set up to have a really strong core.
They're all either 20 or 22. Like, that's their main guys. Like Brandon Ingram and Kuzma, and I mean, I know Brandon Ingram has been in the league the longest out of all of them, but he's still younger than Kuzma, because Kuzma's 22 right now. And you're right. See, that's why I feel like it wouldn't be wrong for them to wait it out and see if they can get Kawhi later. Like, I feel like that's fine if you really. Because, I mean, if LeBron doesn't come, what are you going to do about it? You can't do anything. But, hey, you literally have a player that wants to come, and he's very avid about it, and he's been avid about it for maybe... I mean, I know there have been reports on it probably from the past 3 years. Now, they've been the most prevalent the last 2. But it always seemed like Kawhi had some type of itch to come back to L.A. And so, with that being said, like, why not just see how your core develops, maybe even continue to get better draft picks? Because if you bring one of those guys in, you're not going to get the same type of low draft picks that you've been getting. That's just not going to happen, because you're not going to be a lottery team anymore. And so if you're looking to build and like keep this rebuild going, then obviously waiting for Kawhi is the correct answer. Now, if they want to win right now, then getting LeBron and Paul George is the right answer. But LeBron is also, what, is he like 33 years old? He's going to be 34 probably.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure LeBron still has a lot of miles, you know.
Yeah, but how well is LeBron going to be playing in 5 years?
And not only that,
these guys are in their prime.
Will he want to, if things continue to not go well for him in the finals, how much longer will he want to play? Because in the reality is he's a very successful businessman. He has businesses in LA, in Akron, in Cleveland, and really there is nothing he couldn't do in the league. Like, people would let him coach, people let him be an analyst. I don't know why he would go that route, but he could be a general manager. Like the options for LeBron's, and he has kids, but the options for LeBron's life aren't limited to just playing.
No.
But, and he's probably not thinking about this or is. I'm not sure right now, but I think if your record goes from 3-6 to 3-8, that's
It
I don't
starts to look I mean, I know.
yeah, maybe you're better off walking away at that point.
I know a lot
Yeah.
of players like don't say. I mean, I know LeBron probably prides himself in going to a lot of finals, but at the end of the day, I know it does look kind of bad when you've lost a heck of a lot more of them.
Yeah,
more of them
if
than
you're
you won.
losing that many, most players would rather go and win one than lose 5.
And
Yeah.
I don't know about this whole thing. I feel like it's weird because like there's so much going on in the NBA all the time.
There is.
And there's so many things that I feel like in my head that are these reports that just don't make sense to me. Like they said the Cavs want to try to get Paul George or they want to try to get Chris Paul. And I'm like, Chris Paul is avidly recruiting LeBron James to come to Houston.
He said it's he's been working the hardest toward this than anything else he's ever done in his career.
And so why do you think Chris Paul is going to Cleveland when they were a great team as it was? Like already, however they were in this postseason. Now if they have LeBron, they'll probably be even better. But why would you mess that up if you already have something good that's working out?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand where a lot of this stuff is coming from, but I mean, I guess we'll just have to see. It will definitely be interesting however it plays out.
Absolutely.
The next thing we're going to talk about is actually some interesting news with like someone who buds head with LeBron a lot. It's Enes Kanter. Now, Enes Kanter is apparently, I think he opted out of his contract. If I remember reading that correctly.
I'm not sure if he opted out of it yet. There was reports saying he wants to stay. And
Well,
his reports are all over the place.
If
I don't
he
really
does,
know what's going on
if he
there.
does want to stay, then he wants to. That's one
Yeah.
thing. But if he wants to go, I've heard that there have been a lot of interest from the Suns or the Bucks. Now, one of these teams I feel like makes sense, while the other, I can't really see it working out well for him. So in my eyes, I feel like I can see there's a clear-cut team that he should go to if they're out of these two options. But what do you guys think out of the Suns or the Bucks?
Personally, I don't think it would make sense for him to go and sign with the Suns because they just drafted DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
He's going to get playing time. He's going to get a lot of playing time because I think his game is going to translate, and it's going to translate fast. Personally,
DeAndre Ayton has a ton of moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton is so strong. He has all of the athleticism that he's going to need in the NBA. I don't think he's going to get bullied like some rookie bigs do in the NBA when they first come in.
because
like,
he's already jacked.
Well, he's already huge.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is like, I feel like Enes Kanter shouldn't go to the Suns because, well, Enes Kanter is a center. He's going to have to if he goes to the Suns, I'm pretty sure he's going to want to start. And if he starts, he's going to have to play power forward. But in this NBA, you don't really have two power forwards that stay down low. Most like really good teams don't do that. They have one who does that job. And I feel like with that just being said, why would that make sense for him to go there? Or why would they even want him to go there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Suns would be that interested.
Well, the Suns, they are interested though. Like I feel like they shouldn't be interested.
Yeah, I don't think they should be.
I would prefer Josh Jackson to develop a little bit more and maybe try to see him at that 4.
That's true. They drafted him number 4 overall.
I believe
it was
so.
It was a first round pick, and then they go out and get Ayton. I still think Josh Jackson has a lot of potential. Ayton is gonna obviously get playing time. I think
he's gonna start right off the bat.
Yeah.
I just feel like I would like to see. Well, from the Suns, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a lineup of like Brandon Knight, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Josh Jackson, and DeAndre Ayton, and just see how that works. See how that plays out. Because I do have really high hopes for Mikal Bridges.
I do too.
really high hopes for DeAndre Ayton, and I feel like Josh Jackson, if he's been working on that mid-range shot this whole summer, like he probably should if he wants to take the next step, he's going to be very hard to guard because he's a very quick, very athletic. He can stop on a dime, and if he is able to do that and combine a decent mid-range jumper off of a screen, I feel like it's pretty hard to guard that just because he's so much faster than anyone guarding him.
Right. I think between the Suns and the Bucks, I think the Bucks kind of have more of a need at the 5 to like a stronger player, because right now they got John Henson, Thon Maker, which he also plays forward, Marshall Plumlee, and then Tyler Zeller, and none of them are putting up good numbers with boards, points, and obviously not assists. So I think the best situation would be for him to go to the Bucks and play alongside with Giannis, because then Giannis can play the basketball, a little bit more of the basketball that he wants to play. He doesn't have to worry about, using his length all the time to get the boards. He doesn't have to worry about that because that's something Kanter can do, and at the same time give you 20 points. So
yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense for the team and the player.
Well, it would help
for him to go to the Bucks.
Yeah, it would help Giannis out a lot, and that's the thing. Like, you want to help your star player, your franchise player, out as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Enes Kanter would do that a lot better than the guys they have currently on that Bucks team.
Right.
And you're right, there is a need for him. So in my eyes, if I'm Enes Kanter, I know Enes Kanter. First of all, he's going to get a decent contract, and so if you give him that contract, he better be starting on your team. Like, if he's not starting, that literally makes no sense. It's a waste of money. And on the Bucks, he would do that. And
he
on the Suns,
would definitely start.
wouldn't.
The Suns, no. With Ayton and Jackson there, Kanter is not starting.
Right.
And
I'm with you there, Brandon. I think the best move the Suns can do is make sure Josh Jackson develops well. And although I personally probably like Kanter at the Bucks more, I actually don't think it would be a terrible option for him to stay at the Knicks. Like, I think the team is showing some promise. It did all right in the draft, and personally, I know they were really upset they didn't get Porter. I think Kevin Knox is a good pick. Obviously, he has to increase his offensive versatility, but I don't know. I like him at the Knicks, but definitely, yeah.
You like Kanter at the Knicks?
I definitely like that more than him going to the Suns.
Yeah,
is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think those are probably his two best options: staying with the Knicks or going to the Bucks.
I agree.
Well, I feel like it's better for the Knicks to hope that he decides to part ways from them, because I mean, I know Kristaps Porzingis isn't gonna. Well, I think he's not gonna play next season, but I mean, like, I think having Knox and Porzingis together, like a 1-2 punch down low, would probably be their best move if Knox ends up playing like how he should in the future. And I feel like Enes Kanter, like, he just isn't gonna bring them that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
well,
that same type of offense or same type of just the offense specifically.
I think that depends a lot on the timetable for Porzingis to come back from the injury.
Mm-hmm.
If Porzingis is back at any point, like in the first half of the season, then you've got that little bit of a logjam there,
right?
Where not everyone's getting the minutes that they need. But if Porzingis is missing most of the season, having Kanter there with Knox makes a lot more sense.
Well, it might help him. And I think that definitely probably would help a rookie, because especially like if you look at Knox, I mean, his strong suit isn't to get boards; it's to score.
Right.
It's his 3-point shooting. That's what makes him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes him valuable in this NBA. Is his speed and his 3-point shooting. That combination.
Right, and what you're going to want paired with that is a strong 5. Somebody that can, back people down and stuff. And the reality is, Enes Kanter isn't the best at that. He if you see him when he was at the Jazz to now, yeah, he does look a lot better. He looks a lot more toned. But he has trouble, like, backing down guys like Steven Adams, people like Kevin Love. And I'm just like, Kevin Love, like, he turned it up in the postseason, but the entire regular season, he was one of the most passive players there was at the time, I thought. So that concerns me, but that's also why I think he should go to the Bucks.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
his best option is at the Bucks. I could see why maybe the Knicks would hope that. Now that bringing up what Glenn just said, why the Knicks would hope that he would stay just this season, because I really don't think that Kristaps Porzingis is going to play next season, or if he does, he might come back at the end. But I don't see what the point of that is, because I don't think the Knicks are going to be a playoff team. So why risk potential injury?
Why bring him back for like 10 games next
Right.
season? That doesn't
come
make a
back
lot of
good.
sense.
Yeah, and even though like with this whole thing, like if Kristaps is coming back the season after, well, his Enes Kanter's contract is going to be up, and then you could just follow through with the initial plan that you want to do anyways.
Exactly.
So it might work out either way for him, but I feel like if he is wanting to contend, if he is wanting to go on a team that is going to make the playoffs, the Bucks is the best option for that, and I feel like both of you will agree with me
Definitely.
just on that option. There have also been some interesting reports that DeAndre Jordan is willing to do some type of sign and trade deal with the Clippers. And the biggest suitors are the Mavericks, but it's kind of interesting because there have been some reports or rumors that the
Boogie.
Dallas Mavericks are interested in DeMarcus Cousins. So which one would you rather do?
That's a really tough
That's
call.
a really tough one
And-
for me as well.
And that one really depends on if Cousins wants to stay with Anthony Davis.
And if Anthony Davis is gonna be at the Pelicans,
Yeah, if they both leave, that
the
team
Warriors
is.
want him. You know.
Yeah, I don't think Davis would go to the Warriors. I think he wants to win. I think Davis wants to prove he can win without doing that.
Right, because if you even saw the reports before and his interviews before he went in to the
Yeah.
Warriors series, the number one thing he kept saying was, "We can beat him. We know we can beat him, and we just got to play our best basketball so we can beat him." It doesn't seem like he's gonna pull a KD. You know what I mean?
I don't think he will.
Right. But now my question is, if AD does go, would you like to see DeMarcus Cousins alongside Clay and Draymond? Because that is what
DeMarcus
people are.
Cousins alongside Clay and Draymond?
Right. Is that not what I said?
Oh, I see. Yeah, what
Yeah.
you said. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I would be interested. I would, but at the same time, it's like I would
It's
also
a lot
be,
of character in one.
yeah, that's a lot on one team.
But then you make up for it for Clay. So
But I would actually prefer to see him play alongside Luka Doncic. I mean, I think it
that
would be
would be
really
hu-
good for him.
I think that'd be huge for Doncic.
I think it'd be very good for his development as well.
Yeah, because his best skill is his passing game,
Mhm.
and that gives you a really good target to pass to right away.
Oh yeah,
And-
DeMarcus Cousins is incredible at finishing the ball because he's strong, and the best part is he's gonna give you really good defensive stats on the other side
He
of the
is.
court.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to worry about having a big that you can work with, but worrying that he's not gonna be the strongest, defender. So
Yeah, and for Luka Doncic, like if DeMarcus Cousins isn't there, that's their top. That's a top defender that isn't covering DeMarcus Cousins on the other team, and
Right.
that puts a better defender and more focus on Doncic, which is not going to be good for his development. Like
It's going to be harder for DeMarcus Cousins for Luka Doncic if DeMarcus Cousins isn't there. I feel like though the way it's looking for the way that Luka could best be utilized, the way his potential is maximized, is if he has more scorers around him.
Mhm.
And if you look at DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, sometimes he does take some bad shots, but having that scorer who can do a lot of things like DeMarcus Cousins can, because he can shoot the three, he can score inside, he can do a lot of things.
Right, he
That's
has a
going
lot
to
of
help
tools.
Luka a lot,
Mhm.
especially because I've seen Luka play before, and when he gets a little flustered, he just passes the ball. Now, it would be good if he had this, I think 6'11" big man who's
Mhm.
bullies every other big man in the league, except for maybe Anthony Davis, there on his side, because you're not going to have to worry about DeMarcus Cousins not being open.
Right, and
Yeah.
the reality is Luka Doncic, the most special thing about him, he's pretty good at a lot of things, but the most special thing about him is his ability to pass and the way he can just see the court. And if I'm Dallas, I want to put him in a position where that's the type of basketball we're relying on him to play. Like, that's where we want him to develop, not just necessarily, be a good ISO player or, have an incredible shot, though that is really important because now you're in offensive danger. But to get him to that next level, you have to make sure that he takes his passing ability to the next level, which it already is.
His vision is so great, and that's
Absolutely.
one thing I do like about Luka Doncic. That he can see everything developing. Now, when he gets a little flustered, that does change a little bit, but I don't think you're gonna get as flustered with DeMarcus Cousins on your team because he's an offensive weapon that it seems like anyone coming up against him really can't stop, especially not in the post.
Any pressure that you can take off of Luka, whatever you need to do, I think they need to do that.
I don't know why in the scenario if there's a scenario where the Mavs can either get DeMarcus Cousins or DeAndre Jordan, I don't know why you wouldn't pick DeMarcus Cousins every single time. Because DeAndre Jordan's going to get a big contract anyways. That's the point of him doing this sign and trade.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is that you are going to have to lose assets again to get. I mean, in my opinion, DeAndre Jordan's a worse player than DeMarcus Cousins. So you're going to have to lose assets to gain a worse player. So why would you do that? And the worst player is definitely going to get paid too. So part of me just feels like DeMarcus Cousins just seems like the most logical choice for the Mavs. Now, I mean, like you guys said, like there is a lot of character that he brings to the table, and that could be a lot for Luka Doncic to kind of like handle.
Right.
But he seems like a pretty strong, confident guy, and I feel like he can handle it. And I've also felt like DeMarcus Cousins has shown a little bit more like maturity going into last season. He seemed like he was very serious about playing basketball and just playing basketball. And a lot of that maybe those, if you want to call them like immature moves in the past or feelings or expressions that he has felt or had, they might have just come because he was on the Kings. You know what I mean? Like
that's a good point.
That might have just been there because he felt like, what am I going to do on this team? Like, when were they helping him? They have had good players. Didn't they? The Kings, I think, they had Hassan Whiteside. They had Isaiah Thomas. But the key word is they had all of them. They didn't recognize the talent. They didn't keep any of them. They didn't develop them. And this is the thing that he has to work with is in the past. Now he seems like he's more serious and he's more just into just winning games and hopefully contending in the future. And that's the thing, though. If he wants to contend right now, I don't think that the Mavs are the team to do that. But I think if you can get him, and as if you are the person on the Mavs, you do it because it helps Luka Doncic gain his confidence that he's going to need to gain in the NBA and help him develop more. Because you're gonna need to help this guy. He's the best. The way he plays the best is when he has guys around him. If he doesn't have guys around him, I don't know exactly how well he's going to play in the NBA in this stage of his career.
Right.
So what was the next thing we were going to talk about? Was it the Bulls?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The Bulls signing Dante Ingram from Loyola Chicago to a G League contract.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can really say anything negative about signing him. He didn't get drafted. I mean, he
definitely didn't waste anything.
No,
Signing him.
Signing him to a G League deal. The Bulls haven't been really the most patient team with younger players.
Yeah,
they
especially when Tom Thibodeau was coach, when he didn't play any rookies at all ever. Didn't matter how good they were.
Yeah, like it. Awful. Just as an organization, if a young player comes in and doesn't produce right away, they're rushing it, and you're seeing that a lot with the whole Zach LaVine situation. After one season, they're already having doubts and might just back out of re-signing him.
Which
that's a completely different topic. We could talk about that for an hour. But
they might be. Well, I mean, since you brought it up, like they might be doing that though, because if Zach LaVine requires too high of a contract, then I could see why you wouldn't want him,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I would not want Zach LaVine for where his reputation has put him, because he did not play up to his reputation last season.
He didn't.
And he was coming off of an injury. He was also on a contract year where I feel like he felt the need to prove that his worth.
He was
Right.
trying to do too
He had a
much.
chip on his shoulder, but it was the wrong shoulder.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that's exactly it. Is that, look, he wanted to do more because he wanted to show everyone, hey, I'm back.
Right, I can be your franchise player.
And he showed you he had all of that athleticism still, even after his injury.
he looked
It
strong.
was all there. He had a ton of bounce, all this stuff, but he didn't play like the Zach LaVine you hoped he was going to play as. So, in my opinion, I would love for Zach LaVine to pan out. I would love that, because the Bulls traded for him, and it would be nice just for I'm a Bulls fan, and it would be
Right.
nice
Yeah.
to see some good players on the Bulls, and I do think
I'd
they
like
do
to see
have
us
some
back
good
in the
pieces.
playoffs, so.
Yeah, so soon, hopefully. But I understand what they're doing, and if it works out, that's cool. But I feel like if you let him walk because he just is demanding for too much money, that might be okay with me, because I don't want to overpay with someone and be stuck with them.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. There's rumors about LaVine getting a max contract offer. I don't think anyone is going to do that. Someone
Right.
might.
Which originally the Bulls were like, we'll match anything.
And that's
Yeah.
the reason why he has rumors of getting max contracts.
in free agency.
Because if you're a team, why would you not want to put another team in their own grave? Like, if make them eat their own words. Okay, you'll give them match any offer. Okay, I'm gonna give him a max deal. Match it. I don't really want him, but you want him. I don't really and that's kind of calling someone's bluff. 'Cause
Right.
and that's what the Bulls apparently. That's what it's looking like happened, because other teams have been saying, okay, we'll give him a max contract. We'll start these little rumors going around and flirt around that whole thing, and so the Bulls kind of get nervous about it. So the Bulls, I feel like, if what I'm seeing is true, they're probably trying to be like, okay, we know we can't actually do this, because eventually we're probably going to have to give Larry Markkinen a max contract, because it looks like he is the main piece and he has the most potential out of all the players.
If anyone, he's going to be the superstar of that team. He's going to be the centerpiece. I think he already is.
They're building the team around him. It seems
They are.
like,
They
in
are.
my opinion.
I mean,
Yeah.
however
And I think
much,
that's the right thing to do right now.
However much outrage there was in Chicago over the Wendell Carter pick, that pick was, in a sense,
To
for
help
Lowry
Lo- yeah.
Markkinen.
to make sure he doesn't play the center spot.
Yeah, it wasn't for Zach LaVine. It wasn't for Chris Dunn.
It wasn't for. It was just for Larry Markkinen, and it makes sense. I mean, it
Wh-
fills a
which-
need. It fills a need that
It
they need to
does.
fill.
I mean, Robin Lopez is going to be starting, obviously.
Do you think that Robin Lopez is going to start?
I mean, they tried to bench him last year, and the league got mad that they were tanking on purpose.
Yeah, but this year they have. But I mean, yeah, that did happen. That did happen.
So I think they kind of have to play Robin Lopez.
Rolo was cool at sitting though, but
Yeah.
He's like, I'm chilling.
he's like, hey man, I'm still getting paid. I'm showing up. But
Right.
I just feel like I get what you're saying, but I really feel that Wendell Carter Jr. is going to start coming at the beginning of the season.
Which, if you're serious
If he-
about developing him, I think that's probably the best move.
he should.
If he goes out there and he's proving he can play, through summer league preseason, kind of thing. If he proves he's worthy of starting, start him. I don't see how it would necessarily hurt him.
I would play him even if he doesn't prove that he is playing well, because if they lose more games, I'm more happy, because that just helps me in the next draft, because the Bulls
they're getting another high pick.
Yeah, because if you look at the Bulls, there's no way they're contending.
They're
No
not.
way they're contending.
They're not. And that's the thing though with the whole
It sounded so sad. It was like, yeah, they're not contending.
the whole
yet
Zach
again.
LaVine situation. Obviously, I don't think he deserves the max contract, because and the way he played
Well, the
last
way he played
season,
just doesn't deserve a max
yeah,
contract.
and the way he played last season was what no one was hoping for. We've got these three pieces that we really were counting on last season with Larry Markkinen,
Markkinen, Chris Dunn,
and Zach LaVine.
I mean, Chris Dunn did. He improved a lot.
I'm a Chris Dunn fan. I
As well.
really like how he played last season.
Well, he's a pretty good two-way player, I would
Yeah.
say. I would say so myself, and he isn't afraid of anyone. I
his
mean,
his confidence went up so much higher last season.
he wasn't afraid to guard LeBron James. I felt like that was one thing I liked. I mean, he didn't do well guarding LeBron James because LeBron James is LeBron James, but you like to see that drive in players.
Yeah, especially a young player like Chris Dunn.
Right, and if you are a team in the East, at least in context of last season, what you're gonna need is just somebody who's not afraid of him.
Not afraid of
Because
LeBron.
if you wanna get to the finals, you just have to.
You have to.
You
go
have
through
to
him
stop
eventually.
LeBron.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, with recent LeBron teams, it's been LeBron's going to beat you. It's not really the rest of the team beating you.
It's
But to
LeBron
beat
beating
LeBron, you need a team. And Zach LaVine hasn't been kind of being that puzzle piece that they needed. Because he's trying to be the superstar. What he needs to realize is that he needs to fit in with what they're putting around him.
Yeah,
because if they go into next season, say they bring back LaVine, you've got your starting lineup of Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter. I mean,
yeah. I hope Chandler Hutchison starts. I'm be
that,
honest
that
with
would
you.
be pretty exciting if he could.
It's a glaring
there and
hole
do it.
to not start him.
Yeah,
Like-
they don't have anything.
It would just help for his development. I just feel like even if he doesn't come out and play how you're hoping he'll play in the future, you need to develop these players now. You need to develop them right now because you're not trying to contend this season. You're trying to contend in 2 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You need to get them their minutes. You need to make sure that when the time comes for them to be who they need to be, they are ready because they have had the most experience that they needed.
Right, and the reason they need them to develop now is because often Boston and often Philly, their players are developing now.
Right
and that's
now.
going to be a big problem because 4 or 5 years from now, if they stay in the East, those are going to be the teams you're really going to have to. Those are going to be the people you're worried about.
Yeah,
You're going to have to beat them.
Boston and Philly,
The young guys
they are
have to outplay the young guys. That's how it'll have to be.
they are home growing so-called super teams, and I think that's kind of the way this is really trending. And the Bulls, they need to try to do that. They need to try to do it right now. And
I think they are trying to do it, and I hope it. I mean, it looks. I wasn't very happy about Wendell Carter Jr. because of the where he was picked. I was not.
seven is pretty high.
Yeah, I am not saying
it's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not saying that he isn't going to be a good player. I'm just saying that
hope he will be.
He did not. He should not have won at 7. I mean, I understand he fills a hole. So at the end of the day, it's not going to destroy me that they picked him because he did fill a hole. But at the same time, it's okay, fine, you did this. In my opinion, because you did this, he's a 7th pick. He needs to start because you picked him like he is going to be in a position where he should have been picked, or where amongst where franchise players get picked.
Yeah,
He got picked in that position, so you need to show, hey, Lowry got picked here. He played. You got to play. And so if he doesn't play, that's going to disappoint me because you need that type of development from your players. And I hope that they get that type of a development coming out of Dante Ingram.
Right, which is what I was about to say. Yeah.
Way to tie it back there.
But going back to Dante Ingram,
Yeah.
I just want to say he's a little raw. Yeah. He is a little raw, but I mean, it kind of makes sense because he went to Loyola. They did play really well last season.
Yeah,
they
they're
did.
not a big basketball school like
some other teams
Yeah.
are. Yeah. Their coach isn't getting paid crazy amounts of money. Now he might be actually. I haven't seen the contract details, but back then he wasn't. But at the same time, it's he has a lot of things that he can help the Bulls with. He's very athletic. He gets in good scoring position. He has a good 3-point percentage. Actually, he shot 38.5% last season. He's 6'6", so he can potentially fill in that small forward role eventually that the Bulls just don't really have right now. So that's why I kind of like this, is just because he has potential to help some holes. And so I like that the Bulls are trying to develop players that
very unlike
that they
them.
need.
Yeah.
That's what's most exciting about it for me is they're not the kind of people to give people chances. It's okay, we'll give you a chance because you'll be on our team. You're not great now. Well, get out.
Yeah, they've been ridiculously impatient with young players.
We're the Bulls.
We're the Bulls. I mean, it's a little. I think some of the culture is changing. I think we are thinking a lot of like the Tom Thibodeau Bulls, where he didn't really play any rookies. He didn't want any rookies. He wanted them gone because he wanted to be like kind of like how LeBron is, like a win now experience mode. And I get that to an extent, but the only problem is that it was okay. But when your players are getting older, who are you going to call? And there's no one, because you aren't developing players. You just stuck with a bunch of older guys who eventually aren't going to have the talent to do what you need to do. So I like what this Bulls team is doing. I think this Hoiberg system, it did look like it worked a lot better last season when Chris Dunn was running the system. And I know in his system, like anyone who has the ball can bring the ball up the court. But if we're going to be honest, Chris Dunn was like, when he was on the court, he was the heart and soul of that team.
He was.
And that's what I don't like about Levine, too, is that he needs to understand, just like one more thing about Levine, is that he needs to understand is that if Chris Dunn is on the court, Chris Dunn is the leader of the offense. Now, Larry Markkinen could be your best player. You could be the second best player. But Chris Dunn runs the team, and he does it pretty well.
Yeah.
So you have to be okay with taking that side role just in that instance, and then rise and shine when you get the ball. But you have to be okay with Chris Dunn doing his job.
That's what Markkinen did, and it worked. It worked big time. He put up really, really good numbers as a rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Levine is a little bit older, and he was kind of, more front and center when it was expected of him in Minnesota. He was, but that's just, if he's gonna click with the Bulls, that's not gonna be the situation, and so that's why that's my major doubt with him.
He has to fit into Hoiberg's system, and I feel like he has the potential to do so because he can shoot the three ball, he can drive, he can score. He has that scoring potential. He has shown that he can do it. It just needs to be more consistent. Like in Hoiberg's system, you need, I feel like, shooters. You need people who can do that. And that's also, I mean, going back to Dante Ingram, I just wanted to say that's why I think he was a good signing, because he is a shooter.
Yeah,
he is
the Bulls
scorer.
need people who can shoot the basketball.
And you need people who have high energy, and he has high energy.
Right.
And he played pretty good defense. I mean, if you were interested in how many defensive win shares he got just last season, he had 2.7, which is a pretty good number, I would say so. So I feel like if he develops, it just is going to help the Bulls. And so I'm just really interested in seeing where all that's going to go, because the Bulls are actually, I feel like, doing some good things. They're doing what they should be doing. I feel like this would have helped the Bulls of the past a lot if they were able to actually draft players and play them and not wait a few years to play, because, they could have been good, but they were never going to play with Tom Thibodeau as the coach. They were never going to get minutes, and that's a problem. Like, I remember Jimmy Butler used to say he hated Tom Thibodeau because he wouldn't play him, and Jimmy Butler felt like maybe he deserved to play because maybe he was seeing in practice or something that he was probably playing better than some of the other guys. I'm assuming that's why he really wanted to play. Also, I mean, that's your livelihood. But if you would have maybe played Jimmy Butler a little bit sooner, maybe he would have developed a little bit sooner and would have helped that Bulls team. And that's why I like this Bulls team, because they're showing that they want young players. And they did say they wanted young players last season, but then they signed Rondo and D Wade. They wanted to have the young core. But it seems like this season and then going into the next season, they're actually starting to do that. And so that's nice to see, at least, that they're finally setting a plan and they're following through. And that's what I like to see.
Right.
So I think that's going to be it for today. I just want to say thanks for listening, whoever you are. We appreciate it. And this is the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Glen Wilson
and Emilio.
Thanks for listening.